Warning. I chain smoke and I say fuck a lot. But I accept myself for the way I am. I accept you too. Viewer discretion advised.
This is such sordid crap. Pedophilia, it doesn't get any lower than this, people. I don't think there are crimes on this planet that I have more disdain for. I'll tell you what, I sat on the Board of Pardons when I was governor of Minnesota. And I remember we had a pedophile come wanted his record expunged, cleaned off. And his victim came that day, a young girl who had grown up now. I called her up to me and I whispered to her, I said, you don't ever have to come back to one of these again. Because I said, as long as I'm the governor and I'm sitting up here, a pedophile will never get their record expunged, cleared off. Because I believe very strongly pedophilia doesn't end with them saying it did. It is a sickness.
Jeffrey Epstein, cartoon villain, wanted to start a baby ranch and flood humanity with his DNA. Gross. July 31st, 2019. Millionaire sex offender Jeffrey Epstein wanted to impregnate women at his New Mexico ranch and flood the human race with his DNA. The disturbing revelation comes as a 66-year-old faces child sex trafficking charges for his molestation of girls in Manhattan and Palm Beach, Florida. According to The Times, Epstein discussed his sickening scheme with scientists and other confidants for years, although there is no evidence that it ever came to fruition. Epstein, who has long boasted of his scientific philanthropy and association with academics like Stephen Hawking, reportedly wanted to inseminate 20 women at a time inside his 33,000 square foot Zorro Ranch in Stanley, New Mexico. The perverted money manager told scientists and businessmen about his goals for a baby ranch beginning in the early 2000s. Indeed, the hair-raising plan was no secret to those in Epstein's orbit. The advisor also heard about Epstein's plot from another, quote, prominent member of the business community. This nightmarish proposal related to Epstein's fascination with transhumanism, which is the idea that scientists should seize control of human evolution and achieve immortality through genetic engineering and artificial intelligence. AI? Hell no! Critics have compared transhumanism to a revival of eugenics, a philosophy of controlled breeding to improve the population that was embraced by the Nazis. Meanwhile, Epstein talked of financing research that would, quote, identify a mysterious particle that might trigger the feeling that someone is watching you. A peeping Tom particle. Epstein was also interested in cryogenics and wanted to have his head and penis frozen. Can you even freeze eggs? Oh, I guess you can freeze eggs. During a visit to Harvard, Epstein reportedly disparaged work focusing on reducing starvation and providing health care to the poor, suggesting that it would help those less fortunate, only contributed to overpopulation. Overpopulation? That's some NWO shit right there. Steven Pinker, a cognitive psychologist at Harvard, said he found himself, quote, voted off the island after he disputed Epstein's views. Pinker described Epstein as an intellectual imposter who would abruptly change the subject ADD style and dismiss an observation with an adolescent wisecrack. Jaron Lanier, a computer scientist regarded as a founding father of virtual reality, said Epstein based his dreams for a, quote, baby ranch on the defunct Repository for Germinal Choice, a so-called, quote, genius sperm bank. Yeah, I donated there. Stocked with seed of Olympic athletes and Nobel laureates. According to The Times, Lanier believed Epstein was using his dinner parties to screen candidates to bear Epstein's children. One transhumanist told the newspaper that Epstein was also interested in cryogenics, and that Epstein wanted to have his head and penis frozen. From Salon.com. I was a friend of Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what I know. Epstein's lawyers are signaling his most powerful friends. Secrets are safe with him. Will that keep them close? July 9, 2019. Jeffrey Epstein didn't abuse underage girls in a vacuum. He had neighbors and friends. For a few years in the 80s, I was one of those friends in the transactional Manhattan meaning of the word. And I got a preview of his sickness. When we met in 1986, Epstein's double identity intrigued me. He said he didn't just manage money for clients with mega fortunes, he was also a high-level bounty hunter. Sometimes, he told me, he worked for governments to recover money looted by African dictators. Other times, those dictators hired him to help hide their stolen money. Epstein was pleased that I was interested in writing about him, not a profile, a book. The prospect convinced him that I should see a sample of his craft. So we met in the lobby of an office building on Park Avenue South and took an elevator to a law firm, where he intended to serve a subpoena. He didn't get past the receptionist. I thought, this episode, odd. A major financial figure trying to serve a subpoena? Don't you hire someone to do that? My wife-to-be was a military historian with a book about to be published. Interview magazine photographed her in a buttoned-up military shirt with a taut khaki tie. A witty photo of an attractive woman, but not a sexy look. Epstein had chatted her up at a few parties. The night before our marriage, Epstein called. "It's your last free night," he told my wife-to-be. "Why don't you come over and fuck me?" That was how, in 1987, Jeffrey Epstein became dead to me. I know by now everyone's probably seen his phone messages that were taken back in 2005, mostly. But I did try to put them in order. Jean-Luc Brunel, definitely the one to contact him the most. He contacted him on what appears to be July 17th, 2004, 8:20 p.m. Say I called, and then you cannot see the rest of this. It's just all worn out, I guess. This appears to be 1405, 9:30, Jean-Luc, asking if you have called him. He has some message for you. February 25th, 2005, Jean-Luc, looks like 5:50 p.m. Going back to conversation. What about Paris on Saturday? March 21st, 2005, 4:16 p.m. Jean-Luc. He is in a serious conversation about, and I've looked over this, I can't really understand what it says. It kind of looks like Alina's butt. He is in a serious conversation about Alina's butt, and he needs your precision. The best I can do on that one. Looks like April 1st, 2005, 8:08 a.m. Jean-Luc. He has a teacher for you to teach you how to speak Russian. She is 2 times 8 years old, not blonde. Lessons are free, and you can have first today if you call. This is the one that everyone's talking about, saying it's 2 8-year-old girls. I don't think it is, but I could be wrong, because it seemed more logical to me if she was teaching him Russian that she would be 16. And at first I thought they were talking about Nadia Marcinkova, but the age doesn't match up. She would have been about 19 in 2005. That message was 8:08, which we can only assume is AM. So 23 minutes later he calls him back. Please call him back as soon as possible. It's very important. Same day, 9:04 a.m. from Jean-Luc. Half an hour later, the message to relay is that he called again. 3 days later, April 4, 2005, 6:21 p.m. Jean-Luc, he spoke to the doctor about your symptoms. It is Bratislavian various, I don't know what that is. It can be cured, but you have to move. And I'm not sure about what this is, but it looks like it could be, it can cost empathy of the muscle, something like that, which can shorten your sex life. This is also why I thought they were talking about Nadia, because he bought her from Slovakia. Whatever this STD is that he has is Bratislavia something. Or Bratislava is only about 2.5 hours from Slovakia. So, 4/28, 2005. 9:05 p.m. I need a big favor. I hope you will do it. From Jean-Luc. 4:30, 2005. 3:35 p.m. From Jean-Luc. It's Shavit. But he will make an exception for you, and he will answer phone when you call him back. This one doesn't have a date on it. 7:30 from Jean-Luc. LC2models.com. MC2models.com was already taken, and that was his modeling company. And another undated one from Jean-Luc, 5:14 p.m. He just did a good one. 18 years. She spoke to me and said, I love Jeffrey. More from Jean-Luc. This one's to Ghislaine. February 15th, 2005, 8:55 a.m. Message that he called and he asking you to get up earlier. Wondering why do you sleep so late? The grammar in these messages is horrible. I'm appalled. Messages from Ghislaine to Jeffrey. Would be helpful to have blank come to Palm Beach today. Stay here and help train new staff. With Ghislaine. Another one. You let Larry go. The only flight to Palm Beach leaves at 3:15. Not heard from Tom Ford. If you call, it means you will pick up Tom Ford alone in the Explorer. If you want to change, please call GM back. From Ghislaine, August 20, I'm assuming. 2005, 340, whatever. 4105, 1220. Glenn has pulled muscle, and he is at hospital. Good Sam. I don't know what that means. They have called Dr. Moskowitz, and everything has been organized. In this case, probably, they won't make for lunch. I think. September 10th, 2005, 11:16 a.m. Dana Burns declines invitation. Good girl, Dana Burns. These are just some random ones. Mort Zuckerman on January 22nd, 2004. He would like to know the address of the house. To quote, drop by tomorrow at 10:45 a.m. Weird they quoted drop by. 10:20, no date, Mort. Can't see the message. 3:16, 2005, Mort. Returning your phone call. George Mitchell returned a call on February 20th and on January 25th, 2005, 7:15 p.m. HRH. Duchess of York, Sarah Fergie. From the Black Eyed Peas? She is expecting your call. A few messages from Leslie Wexner. Not much there except call him back. But this one from July 25th, 2005. Jim Lucas, the head of text department, has answer on aircraft. His number is 555. Go fuck yourself. David Copperfield, January 8th, 2005. Either 8 or 9:55 p.m. Copperfield. Please call him. January 9th, 2005. Next day. 10. I don't know. Mr. Copperfield. He is home. Same day, about 2 hours later. Reagan or Regan, Mr. Copperfield's assistant, the 28th would be the best day to come and see show. The show starts at 8:30. The next day, January 10th, 2005, 10:45 a.m. Mr. Copperfield. He is just checking. You can reach him at home. A few days later, January 16th, 2005, 2:25, returning your call. He has some info. A few days later, 7:30 p.m., David Copperfield. It's jackpot. What are they, fucking gambling or something? January 27th, 3:55 p.m., David Copperfield. Magic Dave called. February 13th, 2005, 12:20 p.m., David Copperfield. He's not available right now. We'll call within 2 hours. It seems like they had a pretty close relationship. You know what's odd though? David Copperfield? He has a private island. Actually, he has a private bay. Oh, and he was accused of drugging and raping a 17-year-old girl there.
In 2007, a woman claimed David Copperfield lured her to his island and sexually assaulted her.
A woman who claimed David Copperfield raped her after luring her to his private island in the Bahamas has dropped her lawsuit against the magician. The woman, a model and a waitress, claimed Copperfield pulled her out of a crowd during a show in Washington state and later invited her to visit his island in 2007. The woman says the trip was supposed to lead to modeling jobs for the magician's promotional brochures, but she says he wound up forcing her to perform sex acts instead. The FBI and federal prosecutors spent more than 2 years investigating her allegations, but closed the case earlier this year without filing any criminal charges. Copperfield insisted the woman's allegations and lawsuit amounted to an extortion scheme. However, the woman's attorney says it was never about the money. They say she just wanted him held accountable for what he did.
So he's been accused of 2 rapes about a decade apart. From People TV Watch, David Copperfield accused of assaulting teen model after impassioned plea not to be judged. January 24, 2018, accusations against David Copperfield surfaced just hours after he called for people not to quickly judge those accused as part of the Me Too movement. The magician has been accused of drugging and sexually assaulting a 17-year-old model in 1988. On Wednesday, the rap reported Brittany Lewis was competing in a model contest with Copperfield as one of the judges when he invited her to one of his shows in California when she was still a minor. Lewis claimed Copperfield asked her grandmother, Patricia Burton, for permission to travel there. Lewis told her best friend from high school, her husband, her ex-husband, and Burton all about the alleged incident, according to the outlet. It was after a show that Lewis said she allegedly saw Copperfield pour something into her drink while the two were at a bar. I asked, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Oh, I'm just sharing." Lewis said she took a few sips and blacked out. I remember my clothes being taken off, he was kissing my face, and I remember him starting to go down on my body with his face. And then, as soon as he started going down, I just completely blacked out. Lewis claimed she woke up the next morning and Copperfield said nothing happened, as she was underage. Copperfield allegedly made her write a letter saying she was okay after the incident allegedly took place. David Copperfield's islands and Jeffrey Epstein's islands are about 830 miles from each other. So I read the book, Filthy Rich, The Shocking True Story of Jeffrey Epstein by James Patterson, John Connolly, and Tim Mallory. It was alright. And just for the pure humiliation aspect, while he rots in a jail cell, we can make fun of his little robin egg some more. Here's some excerpts from the book.
This white-haired guy came into the room, Mary says, wearing only a towel around his waist. He took off the towel, and then he was all naked, and he lay down on a massage table. He was a really built guy, but his wee-wee was very tiny. He's circumcised, 110% sure. A matter of fact, he has some sort of birth defect. On his thing. I don't know what it is. It's really weirdly shaped. I don't know. Do you want me to, tell you this? I'm just really embarrassed. It's like a teardrop, like a drop of water. It's really fat at the bottom and skinny at the top where it's attached. And he never gets fully hard, ever. I just could tell by looking at it. By looking, you can obviously tell if you're hard or not. And I could tell that he wasn't.
Fucking stoned. I got a motherfucking spaceship. Oh, fuck. Oh, cool, I got it.